Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Unplugged Live and the sixth installment of our Unplugged Live series, where I have a chat to some really remarkable individuals about how it is that they've found their way on their own journeys with mental health and prioritizing their well-being. And today is no different, and one day that I've been very, very excited about as I chat to Colm Doolan, who is a mental health advocate. He's the podcast host of a podcast called The Sober Mess. He is an avid daily dunker and sea swimmer, and someone who I've been following along his journey for a long time. So also great to have a chat with someone back in Ireland and give that little bit of home. So I'm just waiting on Colm to join us shortly. You should be requesting to join any moment now. I hope everyone is doing all right this week. Good to see the faces start to pop up. Just give it another minute or so for Colm to join along in. Look. Good morning if you just joined. We're just waiting on Colm to join on in to our chat this morning. Wouldn't be any sort of digital age interview if it wasn't something to do with technology. I see he's just joined there. Okay, great. There we go. Get started. Oh, I'm missing those live yoga classes too. Oh, there we go. Hello. Oh, you're all cracky. Hang on.
I'll see a different spot, see if that's a bit better. How are you getting on?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good today, good today. How's everything down under?
Oh look, it's we're still in lockdown at the moment, so
Yeah,
that's always a fun time riding those waves. But
okay.
I think there's a little bit of light starting to happen at the end of the tunnel, which is needed and very much appreciated.
Yeah,
How are
great
you
so.
going?
Well, you could have been locked. Like, how strict is the lockdown over there? You're like locked in. Like, can you leave the house and go surfing and do what you do down there, or how does it work?
Um, we have an hour a day that we're allowed to go and exercise, and we can meet one person from another household, but that's pretty much it. It is pretty strict actually, which is
Okay, well.
it's been a bit intense, yeah. But I think they said the other day that we've been the most locked down country in the world now.
That's mad. And like, what would you do now? An hour a day to kind of go out. Like, what do you do to kind of maintain your kind of mental health and keep the stress low and kind of release? Like, because I said that's difficult, like being in lockdown for that amount of time. Like, because in Ireland it was
Yeah,
we're a bit more kind of laid back with it. Like, we weren't kind of locked indoors. Like, we could kind of go out for walks and things like that. Um,
yeah.
what would you guys do to kind of relieve the bit of stress?
Yeah, I think like for me, I guess we're lucky in that, everyone's experience is relative in the first place, but
Yeah,
I just live with my husband, so it's just the two of us in the house. Like we don't luckily have homeschooling or things like that to worry
yeah.
about, but it still gets on your shoulders, and for us, like, even just the two of us, and we've been lucky we haven't had any, major fallouts and we're still married, which is good. But
A friend of mine said you go through lockdown, you're either going to come out a drunk, a monk, a chunk, or a hunk.
I love that. I'm not sure
Yeah,
where we're sitting just yet. It's probably a mix of all of them, to be honest. But
yeah. The
for me,
lockdown tested
the
many of
mornings,
us.
yeah, like I think for me, the mornings are really, really important, and I've always been like a morning person, and to get up and kind of start your day on your own terms a little bit before the
Yeah.
world comes at you and the news and the numbers, you know, doing a bit of I like meditate every morning. That's like a solid has to happen kind of thing. I notice such a massive difference if I don't. And I've taken up last year. I've been writing 1 page a day in a journal. So I just open it up and just put the pen to paper and just see what comes out. And often it's an interesting way to process what's going on. And then I have to move my body in some way and just kind of shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's so true. Like journaling is such an effective way for kind of just dealing with your thoughts. Because if you have that racing mind, that wash machine head, you're jumping to one problem to the next problem to the next problem, and you're never addressing anything. Like, oh, geez, I need to cut the grass, I need to pay the bill, I need to empty the dishwasher, I need to wash the car, oh, I need to cut the grass, I need to pay that bill, I need to send the email, and it's just jumping from one thing to the next. Whereas I find when I journal and actually set the right stuff down, I say, right, I'll go out and cut the grass at 2 o'clock, I'll send the email back, I'll load the dishwasher, you know, I'll wash the car, and you can actually then, when you actually start to put your thoughts out on a bit of paper, it comes a lot more manageable. And I remember hearing this great analogy for like our thoughts, like in New York City, when you're in New York and all the buildings just seem so overwhelming, like, you know, when you see the size of them all. But then when you get up high and look at them all, and you realise that they're all much more manageable when you have a higher level of knowledge, and you're able to kind of, you know, and it's like that with kind of journaling our problems. When we have a higher level of knowledge and we can look at them, they're not as overwhelming anymore. We can kind of say, oh yeah, I can see the layout, and like things get a bit more manageable. And that's the thing with journaling. It's just a complete game changer.
Yeah, it's such a good way to get perspective, I think, on things as well. And like also, as you said, like we have this real tendency to just push things down because the next thing will come up and you just push it down. You never really actually, like you said, address it or process it. Yeah. I find that, you know, when I do journal and like every day I just put the pen to the paper and say, like, it might start off with a sentence of like, today I'm feeling, or how I'm going today, or whatever it might be. And a day won't go by where I'll be shocked by something that will come out, you know, or surprised and go, Jesus, where did that come from? Like, is that actually how I'm really feeling? Like, because you don't ever slow down enough to listen, you know, to what's really going on, I think.
Yeah. It's mad. And you realise as well, a lot of stuff that can cause us anxiety, it's just procrastination. It's the things following us. Like I do that when I'm like studying or need to send an email. I'm all day, I'm like, geez, I need to send that email, or I need to study, but I never actually got out and do it. Like, it's like all day, like, oh Jesus, I better do this thing that's annoying me, but I never actually get away with it. Like, you know, I actually bought a book on procrastination.
Really?
I still haven't read it yet.
Oh, that's a good one. I must write that one down and remember that.
Yeah. I'll write it down tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Maybe next week. But that's the thing, like I remember a mentor of mine, a teacher, and she said to me, like, around, if we were to bottle up all that energy that we spend thinking, you know, like how much energy would we actually have to put into other things that are really beneficial for us, you know? But yeah, how are you going? Like mentally, physically, all of the above?
Mentally, physically, I'm good today, you know. I had a long day and was feeling a bit stressed out today, you know. And I put my headphones and went for a walk down to the 40 for the dip, and I listened to one of my favourite albums, which is Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. And like sea dips, nature, walking, and music, they're my 4 therapists, you know what I mean? And when I connect in with them things, I always feel so much better. And I literally need to write that stuff down because I'm not a slow learner, I'm a quick forgetter. And I forget quickly the things that kind of help me, or I forget quickly the things that harm me, or I forget quickly the things that are bad for me, and I can quickly start doing the things that wreck or stress me out and forget about the things that make me feel better. You know what I mean? That will tend by default to gravitate towards the kind of harmful behaviours or the self-sabotaging behaviours. And then I had to catch myself doing that, and then say, right, what are the things that make me feel good? And it always comes back to that when I'm feeling stressed out. I'm like, right, what are the usual things I do to make me feel good? And like that, walking, nature, exercise, creativity, sea dipping, all these things are just these natural endorphins. I like the caveman's antidepressants. That's what I call them. Because what did the caveman do to de-stress back in the day? He's doing this stuff. We see that in his exercise and his creativity, hanging around healthy community, all this stuff that is sustainable and it's a natural resource. If I get my happiness out of materialism, it's all great when I have all that materialism. But when that goes away, I'm sad. If I get my happiness out of validation or Instagram followers, it's all great when it's there. But when it's taken away, then I'm sad. Or if I get my high out of this drink or a drug, it's great when I have it, but it's never enough, and eventually it'll run out, and I'll be sad again. So anything that you put your dependency in, you're putting a condition on it that when it's there, it's great, but when it's gone, you're sad. You know what I mean? And it's conditional happiness that if anything that I can put my happiness into and it supports me, it's my pillar. But then as soon as it's taken away, I'm empty again. So if I found that if I can put my happiness and well-being into all these sustainable resources that are always there, like the sea is not going anywhere, nature, the walk and music, these are all things that make me feel alive, and they're just so simple and they're always there. You know what I mean? And so if I can get my buzz out of simple things, I'll always feel a lot happier and content.
Yeah, it's so true. I heard yesterday on a podcast, actually, someone just was talking about mental health and what helps them. And they said, and it really stuck with me, that so many of the things that actually help us are free. Like, and if you're to think about the things that really actually make an impact and make a difference, they're not, the gym memberships, although, that helps, or whatever it is, the material possessions, if we are to look at it, the sea, nature, the things that actually are around us, writing on a journal, it doesn't, people I think get in their minds that well-being has to look in a certain way, but actually I always prescribe to the philosophy of like, how do you work it from the inside out instead of the outside in, like not looking and searching for all those external factors, because as you said, they're fleeting, they're going to change. But when you work from the inside out, and check in with yourself and say, how am I really feeling today? Like, does a 10K run really serve me, or actually do I need to just take a break? Like, do I need to just relax or go for a little walk in the city or by the beach, go for a sea dunk, whatever it might be? Like, and what it looks like from one day to the next might be really different too, and that's okay. But it's really important to recognize that too.
Yeah, because you can get your high of all these superficial things. And I heard someone say before that you can become a pig, and what that means, it's not like it's an abbreviation for the problem of instant gratification. And that's what we get hooked on. That's what drives the economy. That's what drives this social media. What drives me wanting to buy stuff and me wanting to get validated is instant gratification. Did you ever watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix? Yeah. It's all about me wanting to get validated. Give me my little dopamine hit. If I get liked, if I buy this thing, if I check on the news every couple of minutes, like there's millions of billions pumped in to the likes of these things to ensure your engagement and your distraction. And I find that I can get my buzz out of the instant gratification, the alcohol, the drug, the shitty food, the Instagram, all the distractions that are never in the present moment, and that's what it is. It's a pig. It's the problem of instant gratification, and we can get hooked on them little dopamine hits of wanting to be liked, wanting to be validated, all the quick hits, and just to become aware of how we can fall into that trap. And like for me, it's to try and be more present and put down my phone a lot more, and to stop falling into them little dopamine hits. And it can be hard when you're feeling low and you just want to, you have a long day and just looking to escape into something, like, you know what I mean? But I always find that I always feel a bit better when I play that tape forward. So like, how will I feel after I get seeded? Or how will I feel after I go for a run? Like, I've never regretted the seeding. I've never done something that's like good for me, and then regretted doing it. There's many times I regretted, binge eating on the sugar, or fucking, drinking and doing everything else, the stuff that was the quick instant gratification. But if I do the stuff like the sea swimming or a bit of exercise, I always feel a lot better after it. And I find that when I change, Wayne Dyer has that saying, if I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. And what I find that, like, I don't train or get in the sea for like fitness. I do it for my mental health. I do it for them endorphins, and I love the endorphin I get out of it. And I don't have any expectations when I train or any expectations when I get in the sea. It's just the dopamine. I get a very divine and therapeutic feeling when I get in the sea, and something magical happens. I could start a run and could feel stressed out and irritated by life, and when I go for a run and I stop the run, and after I'm finished the run, I just fall in love with everyone. All of a sudden, I just love you. I love me. I love that tree. I love that cloud. I love that bit of rubbish on the ground. I want to hug that dog. Everything's just amazing, and I just feel like I'm having some, better. It's a better high than any drug you'll ever get. It's just that post-run feeling you get, that love buzz you get out of running, and it just makes you content and makes you want to love life. And you told me that a couple of years ago when I'm sitting in the pub gargling, saying, "Hey, you get a better buzz out of running." I tell you to run, like, get out here with it. And I know that there is you can get a high out of all these simple things like that. You can go for a run anytime, you get to see anytime, and then you just get that love buzz, like, you know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think you can get that from so many different avenues, and that, like, whether it's running or whether, like, I know when I do meditation with groups of people, like last year we were doing meditating in the garden, so we were doing it in like one of the parks, and I always remember the second people would open up their eyes, like, and it sounds mental, but they say, Jesus, I never realised, like, that sky was actually that blue, or the tree was so green, or, all these things, and we always laugh about it because...
Is that tree always in my front garden?
Yeah, like, I think you have that different perspective on things when you can slow down, you can come back into your body, when you don't let your head take over the show,
It's so true, isn't it? And like, even for me with meditation, when I first got sober, I was so energetic, I was so hyper that I always struggled with meditation, and I always struggled with spirituality, because when I was a kid, I thought spirituality was the church, and I always had this, I was always afraid of the church, you know what I mean? So when spirituality came up, I was kind of like a bit, and I remember someone saying to me, like, just find your own concept of what spirituality is, and find your own way of connecting and meditating. And that's what I've done, like, through like running and swimming and being present in nature. These are all my different forms of meditation and connecting, like, and being divine and connecting with my higher power, and that's the beautiful thing, is that you don't just have to sit in a circle and say to meditate. Like, you can find different forms, and you can meditate through yoga, you can meditate through creativity, you can meditate through sitting in the garden and just being present, being in the present moment. And that's all meditation is. It's just being in the here and now and being present. And you say you start to notice that 20-foot tree that's been in your front garden your whole life, the next thing you're alert and start being aware, and you realise when you start to come into the present moment, you realise that racing mind starts to stop. All the worries about last week or next week, or your man that fucking gave you the fingers in the traffic jam, or whether you get that email back to your boss, or all the million things that stress us out, and we just come back into the present moment, you realise all that stuff is trivial. And like, if you're like me and you sometimes you can forget about the present moment, it's to do activities which will bring you into the present moment, like a flow state. Like, what do you do that doesn't make you look at the wall? Like, I know from playing sport, I play football, or I'm in the gym, like, that time goes so fast because I'm not even looking at the clock. I'm in a flow state. I'm just in the moment. I'm kicking the football around, or I'm doing weights, or I'm running, swimming, cycling. I'm in just this flow state where nothing exists. My mind, my cognitive thinking mind isn't there anymore. I'm just in the moment. Everything is just in the moment. Like I have a mate that plays rugby, and he was telling me this time he actually broke his arm while playing rugby, and he played on. I was like, how did you not feel the pain? He said, man, I was just so entwined in this game. I was just in this flow state that I did not feel a thing. I was like, wow, that's beautiful. To be just so in the here and now, doing an activity. So find that activity that brings you a sense of joy and a sense of and a buzz and just wanting to be in the here and now, and that's how you find what makes you happy. That when time doesn't exist anymore, you're not looking up at the clock like when you're in school or in work going, I hear it's 3:10, it's 3:15. It's gone back to 3:00. What's going on here? It's like, but if you find your flow state that brings you into the moment, that it could be anything, it could be, swimming, it could be running, it could be dancing, it could be baking, it could be whatever, but just find your thing that gives you that sense of joy,
Yeah, I remember a few years ago, I came across like a study that was done. I think it was out of Harvard, and they talked about.
I'm listening to you. I'm just getting a glass of water here, 2 seconds away. But go on, keep talking. I'm listening to you.
You're all good. You're all good.
Sorry about that.
You're grand, all this crazy work. Well, I was just going to say, like, there was this study that was done out of Harvard, and they tracked over years about what people were doing, what thoughts they would have when they were doing it, and how content or how happy they felt. And what they found, I'm sure you heard about this study, but what they found was that over 50-something%, so over half our time basically is spent not with what's present. So that's, half the conversations that you're missing, half the time spent with your kids, half the nature, half the beauty, half the, joy that we're missing because our mind is somewhere else, but also like what they did find, and to touch on your point around that flow state, that when people were with their minds on the job, so regardless of what it was, whether they were, washing the dishes or putting the clothes out or whatever mundane thing it was, that when their mind was on the job, that they felt happy, that they felt content. So it doesn't matter, like you said, what it is that you're doing. What matters is that you're aware that you're doing it, and you're actually present with what you're doing. And that's what will lead to that sense of happiness and fulfillment and joy, because you're actually getting the most out of life, not stuck in your head.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, if you can do anything in a present state, could be washing the hands, just in the water, you know what I mean, or in the shower, or even eating our breakfast. Eating our breakfast, you're phone in one hand, you're guzzling it in, you're not even chewing it. The next thing you're checking the news every 2 seconds. Like, what bad news now? Let's see the next bit of bad news, and that is just going into our brain. All this data of bad news, and we don't do anything in the present state. But we find that if we actually sit down and taste my breakfast and taste this glass of water and just do everything just so in the moment, you know what I mean? We actually feel like you're in the here and now, that you're not drifting off. And it goes back to the PIG, the pig, the problem of instant gratification, you know what I mean? And company, imagine this, right? I remember it got explained to me like this. Imagine you have 24 grand. I'll give you, here, Ash, here's 24 grand for you. Right, and say, here, you do what you want with that. And if I said, right, if you were to look at your phone, it's going to cost you for about 8 grand a day. Would you pay that to go on your phone? Maybe more. You got 8 grand's a lot. But if you were in the car, say, and there was a traffic jam, someone pulled out and pressed the horn at you, and you're about to react, you say, if you react to that, man, you're going to have to pay 4 grand out of that 24 grand. And you already have to pay 8 grand out of your 24 grand. So that's 12 grand. You have 12 grand left. And basically what I'm trying to say is that you have 24 hours a day. You have 24 hours a day. And if you're going to use that 8 hours to look on your phone, and that 4 hours to, if you react to this guy in a traffic jam, that's going to be taking away your peace of mind. That's going to be in there, and you're even less present because you're going through this argument that you had with a lad on the way into work, like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. You're at 4 o'clock in the morning, still awake, oh, I should have said this, I should have, having these pretend arguments, So what I'm like, all we have is time. So just to be aware of that, where we invest it, you know, don't like, just spend your time, invest your time. Invest your time with people, places, things that make you feel good about yourself, you know? Don't just throw it away, like buying crap to make, like in your life is like a diet. You know, if I eat tomatoes and they make me feel sick, or I eat fucking, you know, uh, celery and it gives me a rash, whatever. You know, it's the same way. Geez, every time I hang around with John, you know, I feel a bit sick, or every time we do this behaviour, I feel a bit low, or every time we do this activity, it gets me down. And it's like an elimination process, you know. So if I stop doing this, that, and that, I'll start to feel better. Like, you know what I mean? And you wouldn't do that with your diet. If you clearly feel crap every time you eat tomatoes, eventually you'll have to say, well, I'll stop eating tomatoes. But yeah, you'll keep doing this thing with sabotaging behaviour, or hanging around toxic people that make us feel bad, but yet we'll never change. It's like every time I touch this stove, it hurts me, you know. So why do you keep doing it? Or you go to the doctor and say, look, doctor, every time I do this with my arm, it hurts. And the doctor says, stop fucking doing that then. You know, I never thought of it that way, you know. And that's the problem. We're doing this all the time, and then we're wondering at why we feel so low and why we feel so down. It's like, who are you hanging around with? Well, what you look always like visualizing the worst case scenarios in your head? Are you doing all this sabotaging behavior? Are you hanging around with toxic people? Are you thinking toxic thoughts? Like, what's your vibrations like? You know what I mean? And when you actually look at this stuff, you realize a lot of the time it's our own choices. You know, the attitudes. Our attitude, we have a choice to pick our attitudes, like, you know what I mean? And we start getting ruthless with our mental health. That's when things get better. When we stop suffering from the disease of pleasing, the people pleasing. Please God, Ashley, just like me. And I'll do anything you want. I'll come in, I'll play this role, I'll be this character, I'll be this actor, I'll give you a jockey back up to Donegal. Just please like me, you know? Because that was my biggest fear, in case you don't like me. I'll do anything you want, you know, please God, just approve of me. You know, and that's happened to me actually, happened to me 2 days ago. I was sitting at a table with all these phenomenal athletes, you know, very, very successful athletes. And I was sitting there and I felt less than all them. And all of a sudden I felt like I had to promote myself. I was like a salesman trying to sell a product, you know. I was sitting there, I done this and I done that. I was like the little kid trying to just get attention, like, you know, oh please, you know. And that's what it was. It was low self-esteem, you know, and I was feeling less than, you know. And when you realise that no matter what you do or don't do today, you're enough. And I had to say that to myself, you know. I had to catch myself saying, needing to sell myself, you know, I'm not enough, but I've done this and that and that and that, and now am I enough? Now do you accept me? And I know I catch myself doing that, you know, where I remember being in work and you see some people and they go on, they have the academia, or they're great at their jobs, or they're amazing at this, or the boss loves them, and you're comparing yourself to all these different people and you feel less than. You know, and I had to catch myself doing that. And, you know, Theodore Roosevelt has that quote, you know, a comparison is the thief of joy. You know, and I catch myself sitting at that table with all these phenomenal athletes going, Colm, why, like, you're pretty much the same as these people. Why do you feel less than? You know, why do you feel that you don't deserve to sit here, or that you have to sell? You have to start telling these guys all this great stuff that you think you're doing just to feel like you're worthy. But no one else thinks you're not worthy, only that inner critic. And it was that inner critic that was saying I wasn't worthy. And it was that inner critic that was saying, no, Colm, you need to tell them you've done this and done that and done this and done that, so you feel enough to sit at this table. And when I caught myself doing that, you know, it was like, oh, you're enough, Colm. You don't need to sell yourself. You know, it's like, do you ever see that? Do you ever watch In-Betweeners?
Yeah.
Jay of In-Betweeners, he's always spoofing about he done this and he done that, and that for me, that screams insecure. Like if you see someone going on like that, go, I have all this money, or I used to be a great fighter, or I used to be the fastest runner. It's usually because they're insecure about it in the first place, you know. That's the thing, when we feel less than, we can go start trying to promote ourselves. And I remember seeing a psychologist a few years ago, you know, and he told me a great mantra to say, and I have it written down on my mirror in the room. And every morning I look at that and it says, Colm, you are good enough today, regardless. You know, and when I can do that, when I can realise that, it takes so much stress out of your life that you don't need to go, you don't need to do an Ironman to say you're enough, Colm, or you don't need to lose 20 stone to say you're enough, or you don't need to buy all the drip, or you don't need this many followers, or you don't need this promotion, you don't need this, and all the million things. We just say, no, you're enough just as you are. You know, and that's and that from someone that realizes that is at peace and is someone that's on the journey to healing. Because when you're still trying to prove yourself that you're not at peace because you're trying to become something that you don't need to become. You know, you as your default is enough. You know, and I know from a kid, I developed from a very young age a negative baseline opinion of myself that I was trying to disprove since I was a kid, you know. And I went from a human being to a human doing. You know, if we done something, then I'd be like, you know, and it was always that. And then when I found alcohol, that melted away. That low self-esteem and that insecurity and not feeling enough, that all faded away, and all my worries just left. You know, I didn't care about me, I didn't care about you. That love buzz I'm talking about, the post-run love buzz, I got that in alcohol, you know. And I just wanted that. And every time I got that feeling, then it would go away and I want to heighten it. And then I want more drink on top of it, more drink on top of it. And the fear of not being liked, and the fear of failure, and the fear of rejection, all that stuff just faded away. And that's why I love drinking so much, you know, because when I was sober, I had a fear of what people thought of me. I had a fear of rejection. I had a fear of relationships. I had a fear of bills. I had a fear of work. You know, I had a fear of death. I had a fear of my family dying. I had a fear of affecting everything. Low self-esteem, insecurities. You know, a race of mind. And all this stuff when I was sober. But when I was drinking, I only had one fear. It was where that next drink was coming from. Where that next high was coming from. You know, I was the guy in the nightclub that used to get the shivers when the lights used to come on. Because that means it's time to go home, like, you know. And I was like, no, I'm not going back. I don't want to go back to sobriety. No way, I'm enjoying this way too much. I'm this high, I want to be that high. Like, my favourite drink was always the next drink. When I get that next drink, that's when the good times are happening. I'm good now, but it's going to get even better. And I was on this constant chase for the next thing that was going to make me happy. And I'm using alcohol as my example right now. Well, how many of us can use anything like that? Like the destination addiction, that the next thing will make me happy. The next drink, the next thing I buy online, the next bar, the next diet, the next shape I get into. If I get into this shape, if I lose this weight, if I get this many likes, you know, it's the next thing is always going to make us happy without realising, again, it comes back to, oh yeah, I'm good enough, regardless of the next thing. Whatever the next thing is, that'll fix me. The next relationship, the next paycheck, the next holiday. You know, we're always on the next, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did the next, or just that ability to not have to feel, you know, to feel the not feelings of being good enough, or to not actually have to face into that, you know, the bits that feel challenging. Yeah, either one of those, whether it is drink, whether it's drug, whether it's food, whether it's shopping, whether it's social media, like whatever it is, you know, that ability to take a bit of a step back and have a reassess, you know, of like, what's my relationship with this like, you know, if this was taken away, how would I feel? You know, would it be something that feels like it's going to kill me, you know, that I need it? Or is it a case where actually I have a healthy relationship with it and I can leave it down, you know? And like you said, I heard as well on the podcast the other day, I was talking about addiction. Like, I think we all have in our minds this idea of addiction being, you know, drink or drugs or food or sex or whatever it is, that it has to be like this, you know, big, strong thing. But if we actually think about it, like, so many of us have those minor, you know, beneath the surface kind of level addictions or compulsions or things that, you know, like the likes on Instagram, whatever it might be, you know, that we are just so ingrained as part of our everyday. Or, you know, like you said, being told that you're good enough, or, you know, getting that gratification from someone else, you know, being constantly told like, I love you, you know, needing that validation from somewhere else. that we never actually really stop and slow down enough to notice that all this stuff is going on, you know, and then it builds and it builds and it builds, and the stuff that we're numbing or trying to run away from, you know, and I definitely have experiences of that for sure, and I still do to an extent in my life, that we're constantly just pushing it away down in the bag, you know, and then all of a sudden we get to a point when we realize we have this, you know, 20-ton bag that we're trying to carry around all day, and we're wondering, what the hell is that? Like, you know, where is all this stuff coming from? Or we burst out of nowhere at something that is so minuscule or tiny, and we realize that we have all these unresolved emotions or feelings, you know, that are there.
Yeah, no, spot on, and it's that thing. It's like it's the big pandemic, you know. It's the problem of instant gratification, and you know, like I identify myself as a recovering alcoholic, but also as an escape artist. You know, that you want to escape from. I'm like Alcatraz. Like, my head is like Alcatraz, and I don't see a bottle of alcohol. I see a bottle of tape. I don't see a bar of chocolate. I see a bar of escape. I don't see you know, fucking online shopping. I see online escape. I don't see porn. I see escape. I don't, you know, I'm constantly looking for what can I escape in, you know what I mean? Anything at all. And but what's the root of the problem? Like, if you've seen a plant and the leaves of the plant looked unhealthy, you don't treat the leaves. You go down and treat the root. And it's about coming back to why do I want to escape? You know, what is my environment? Like, you never see a kid trying to escape out of Disneyland. So my endeavour today is to try and make that mind as pleasant and a keen a place to be, and make Colm a nice dude to hang out with. Because a problem, like, if you like the disease of addiction, it's a dis-ease. I'm at a dis-ease with myself. I'm not at ease with myself, you know, and that's what disease. Because I wanted to addict to you know, escape into something. You know what I mean? So when I'm at a place where I no longer need to, you know, escape into things, that's you know, and that's what it is, coming back to the root of the problem. And there was this great study done, and it's actually on a TED Talks, you know. It's called Rat Park. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And it's a study done on addiction on rats. And what they had a rat in a cage, and they had two water supplies. One was had opiate in it, like I think it had cocaine in it, and the other one. And every time this rat kept going back to the one with the cocaine until it died of an overdose. Like, and they kept doing it, and they didn't know why. They said, look, it's clearly it's addiction. Once you get addicted, there's no recovery. There's nothing you can do. You're addicted. And then one of the scientists said, wait, no, hold on now. Let's change this around a bit. Let's add more to the cage. He only has two options here. So what he done? He put like one of the spinning wheels in there. He put like food in there. He put like a little park that they could play, and he put other rats in there as well. You know, and so we had all these other things going on, and what he found out, that there was a 70% less chance of them getting addicted, and they wouldn't go to the cocaine water, they'd go to the normal water. And what they found out is that if you change their environment, the chance of them wanting to escape into that addiction is completely different. You know, and that's what it came back to. It was changing their environments. What it was, and they actually, through this study, Portugal went and changed their laws where they decriminalised drugs. They decriminalised people that would use drugs, and people that use drugs in Portugal aren't seen as criminals. Because you look at a cycle here. You're in Dublin now. You're caught with drugs. Say people now that are on the streets and they're caught with drugs, and they're criminalised, and they go to prison, and they come out, and then they can't get a job because they have a criminal record, and then they just get back. Then they don't know what to do with their time. They're bored, and they go back into crime, then back into drugs, and back into prison, and that cycle. Whereas Portugal took the approach of decriminalisation, whereas you're caught with drugs, you're seen as someone who you know, someone that's sick, like, you know what I mean? Someone that needs help and rehab. So you're treated like that. You're not treated as a criminal, and you're not ostracised. You're treated as someone who's ill. And that's how they treat them. And it reduced crime by up to 40% in Portugal. Like it's
And I
mad.
think like that element too of you know, the other rats in the cage and that sense of community, which is massive. Like it's so important. And I think community and social connection is often one of the least recognized or spoken about or celebrated aspects of how to work toward positive mental health.
100%. Like when you turn like recovery into like that's why the 12-step program are so
Mm,
successful because it's a
mm,
community getting together of like-minded people walking the same path. And it's not like Instagram, everyone talking about their successes. It's people
mm,
talking about their shame, their struggles, and doing it together where they feel comfortable being vulnerable. They feel comfortable being with people that walk down these dark paths before. Like, I remember hearing this great story, this guy he's trapped down a hole and he can't get out of it. This dark hole and he can't get out of it and he's screaming and asking for help. And a priest walks past and he says, "Please, Father, will you help me get out of this hole?" And the priest just throws down rosary beads. But he's still stuck down this hole. Then a doctor walks past. He says, "Please, doctor, will you help me get out of this hole?" And he writes him a prescription and throws it down. But he's still stuck down this hole. He has his prescription and he has his rosary beads. And then a millionaire walks past. He says, "Please, please, help me get out of this hole." The millionaire writes him a check and throws it down. And he's stuck down this hole and he has his check, he has his rosary beads, and he has a prescription. But he can't get out. Then another dude walks past, jumps down the hole. And he goes, "Man, what are you doing? Like, now the two of us are stuck down here." He goes, "Yeah, mate, but I've been down here loads of times. I'll show you the way out. Follow me." And that's the beautiful thing about recovery, and that's the beautiful thing about meeting people, like-minded people who've been in that struggle, be it the struggle of addiction or mental health or depression or anxiety, that you've seen both ends of the human experience, the darkness and the light. And what people don't realise, you don't find the light in the dark. So you don't find the light in the light. You find the light in the dark. So when you're in that darkness, that miracle's just around the corner. Not only that, someone that's gone through a hard time, that's sharpening you up for them good times. And that's adding to your message that you can articulate to other people. And I always find that the people that get me, there's just an energy where people that have walked that path and you just get a sense of rapport and you're able to resonate with them people who've walked that. So anyone that is going through hard times, you're going to be able to transcend them hard times into hope for people. And what's an abbreviation for hope? Is hold on, pain ends. And that's the message that we give to people when we're going through them hard times, to be able to let them know, "Look, I've been there, I've been down that dark hole. Walk along with me, I'll hold your hand. There is the way out. You're not alone." But one thing I know for sure is that this too shall pass. No matter what you're going through, it passes. And it's the very laws of nature. Everything comes in cycles. Like everything, nothing is permanent. Tide comes in and out. There's a night, there's a day, there's a winter, there's a summer. Everything passes. You live in a whole dimension of everything, times and cycles, and you get high energy, low energy, high vibration, low energy. But everything's in a cycle. Nothing's permanent. And it's just to give that bit, if you're going through hard, like low energy or hard times, to just give it time. There's a miracle just around the corner. Don't quit just before the miracle happens.
I love that. Yeah, I heard another mentor of mine talked about how, there's actually a translation of like some Buddhist principles which talked about like there is suffering, impermanence, and that sense of like not taking things so personally. But she broke it down to me and said, shit happens, things change, don't take it so personally. And like just even to remember that can be so helpful. I think when you're kind of, if you feel stuck in the hole, you're like, okay, shit's gonna happen, I'm not superhuman here, things will change, this won't be forever. And it's not all my fault, or it's not just me. But yeah. So like a bit about there around how you moved, well, we've talked about now and what keeps you sane and what keeps you going now around the sea dunks, the runs, all of that, and also I guess the past column, which was around, the path towards sobriety and that. But I guess what was kind of in the middle? What was there a turning point or a point where it all started to change for you?
the greatest thing that probably ever happened to my recovery and the worst thing that ever happened to my drinking was a rock bottom. You know, you learn more from about yourself and about life lessons hitting rock bottoms than you ever will reaching the mountaintops. And that's what people don't realise when they're always chasing success. Any successful people have always had loads of setbacks. Have always hit dead ends more than they've hit successes. You know, and I heard someone say like an abbreviation for fail is first attempt in learning, or an abbreviation for end is effort never dies. You know, so my rock bottom with my addiction and my mental health was the best thing that ever happened to me. Although at the time it was horrendous and I was close to the end, you know, and it was a really, really difficult place. But looking back now in clarity, if it wasn't for that period of my life, I wouldn't be where I am now today. And I'm so grateful for that. You know, I am so grateful for that period of my life where, you know, things were very unbearable, because that planted the seed that's now affecting, you know, that's now, you know, the house of gratitude. You know, that was a brick in the house of gratitude. And that's where I'm living now. I'm looking out that top window on a big house of gratitude for the life that I have. And the turning point was hitting that rock bottom. So if anyone, you know, look, I've done more incredible things through pain than I ever have through peace. When I look at all the stuff I've done, look, I remember the first time I went travelling on my own, I was going through a breakup and I was finding it so difficult that I just needed to get away. And I ended up booking like this backpacking trip, and it was the greatest, one of the best holidays I ever had in my life, you know. And it started from a place of pain, you know. And then when I got into sea dipping and training, I got into sea dipping because my dad passed away 2 years ago. And my friend brought me down for a sea dip to help me. It was three years ago, sorry, and he brought me down for a sea dip. And since that, I've loved the sea, and I always feel a connection with my dad every time we get into the sea. And he was actually in AA, and he's the one that brought me into the rooms when I was at my rock bottom. So I'm always grateful for that. But what I'm trying to say is, just great things come out of pain. It's a great motivator and a great enabler. That, you know, if it can be, it's like fire. You know, fire has the power to burn the house down, but also has the power to cook you a lovely dinner. You know, so it's like that with pain. You know, that pain can either destroy us or it can enable us and motivate us if we use it the right way. You know, and I heard this other great analogy. It's like, you know, when you go away on holiday and the sand on the beach is so hot that you can't stand there because it's just so hot. So that heat of that sand's either going to push you to run towards the sea or to run towards the shade. You know, and just to get you get you out of that pain. And I was just thinking back there as well. I remember I started in a job a couple of years ago, and I felt like such a phony in this job. You know, pure imposter syndrome. Like, even from the interview, I remember I went for a group interview, and it was my dream job. Like, the job was an incredible job, and I went for the interview, and everyone was chatting, and I thought I didn't do great in the interview. And I got home, and there was 20 people for the interview, and only 3 people were going to get a job. And they ended up bringing me and offering me the job, and I was like, "Jeez, yeah, just you know, delighted." And then as soon as I hung up the phone, I convinced myself they got the numbers mixed up. They were meant to ring the other guy that had all the academia. They were meant to ring me. And you know what? I went into the job, and I think it was for a few weeks, I still had this in my head that they were going to tap me on the shoulder and say, "Come here, Colm, we actually got your number wrong. Like, you're not meant to be here." And, you know, and that was the low self-esteem we had, you know, and that was the imposter syndrome we had. But because I had that need to want to improve myself, I turned into a workaholic, you know, because again, I didn't feel enough as I was. I needed to go the extra mile. Everyone was above me. Everyone in the office was above me, you know, and I had to go extra mile to prove myself because of that low self-esteem. And I worked my whole lot, and I worked right up that company. I got so many promotions, you know, and there's nothing more determined in this world or powerful than someone just trying to prove themselves out of a place of pain, you know. And again, when I even done the sports, you know, that what came from a place of pain when I started doing the marathons and doing the Ironman, that at first it was me trying to prove myself because I didn't feel enough as it was. But maybe if I do all these things and get all these accolades and these medals, then I'll feel good enough and I'll like myself, and then the people will like me. And, you know, it was like the agenda was less than, you know, again, the void. But if I was to look back at all that stuff now, although I've done it from a place of pain, there was still a lot of good achievements, you know. So if you can utilise pain, utilise it to your advantage and see the great things that you do with it, you know. Like them breakups and breakdowns, they lead to breakthroughs, you know what I mean? It's like when we can use that pain and everything, like you look at evolution, like everything is there for a reason. Everything is there for a reason. You know, that like if we have pain for a reason, we have all these different traits, you know, with this our very bodies are these highly intelligent billions and billions of years of evolution gone into our innovation and has gone into our bodies, you know what I mean? Like, so everything's for a reason, you know what I mean? And that's the problem. Sometimes people feel anxious and feel like they're doing something wrong. And it adds to their anxiety, or they feel sad because they're sad, so they get sadder, or they're angry because they're angry, so they get angrier, or you know, so they're adding to their emotional, you know, turmoil, whatever it is, because they feel like, when I felt anxious and depressed, I thought I had disease. I thought I had like leprosy and like something filthy and wrong with me. Without saying, look, how is perfectly like okay to feel like that. The great quote is, you know, it's okay not to feel okay. You know, but you're not for normal people, but not for someone like me. You know, and it was beating myself up for feeling anxious and feeling low. But again, it's like the cycles of nature, you know, you're going to go the emotional spectrum, you're going to get lows, and it's perfectly okay to get lows. Allow yourself to get low, allow yourself to be gentle. And the Native Americans always say, when you're in that low period and you're feeling low, it's time to rest. You know, when the winter comes around and it's raining, that's rest time, you know what I mean? Well, for me, I knew when I got anxious and depressed or I was exhausted, I'd done more, because my way of coping with being anxious and depressed was distraction and activity. So I'd clean the house, I'd hoover the roof, I'd polish the glass. You know, I do more when I'm tired, or I do more when I'm anxious. And I turn into like this human doing again, where my addiction is doing. I'm a human doing, rather than just sitting down and resting and being comfortable with Colm and being comfortable in my skin. And again, it comes back to meditation, being at one, being still with yourself. And you realise that when you come to like yourself, that the worst thing that, like, Brené Brown has that quote that says, you know, if women, that she said women, like, but she said if women started to like who they were, the economy would crash, you know. And essentially what she was trying to say was that what drives the economy is just feeling less than and not feeling worthy, that if I buy this product, I'll feel good enough then, I'll buy this, I'll buy that. And, you know, and that's what it comes down to, that when I feel low, rather than sitting with that feeling, that I'm trying to run away from it, I just sit with it. And the more you sit with it, the more comfortable you feel, that you just feel like, you know, I don't need to run into this thing, I don't need to run away, I don't need to buy something. And the more you sit with feelings, like, your emotions are like your muscles, you know. Like, you go to the gym, you bench press. Like, if you bench press every day and expose your body to this exercise, that's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and now to cope with the weight, the pressure. And it's the same with our mindset. If you expose yourself on a regular basis to something that makes you uncomfortable, eventually you'll get comfortable. You know, one of the most addictive drug is the comfort zone, and there's no growth in the comfort zone, but there's no comfort in the growth zone. So if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's what, when, like, the universe will always send us tests. Like, you were in a toxic relationship, you're like, why did I do that? It's because the universe is trying to teach you about yourself. You'll only know a good relationship because you've been in bad relationships. You'll only know you'll only know the sun because you've been in the rain. You'll only know the light because you've been in the dark. You know, so all these things, although they might be painful, they're essential. an essential inconvenience, but essential nonetheless, you know. And so again, it comes back to what Wayne Dyer says, you know, if we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. You know, even the tough times in our lives, that we can look back at them with a bit of compassion and realise there's so much growth in that stuff. You know, never, like, you hear that. There was a song I was listening to recently, and they're singing about they haven't felt the rain, or they weren't in enough rain yet. And you'll know the more people that have been through that rain in life are the most spiritual, peaceful, enlightened people that you'll meet. They just seem, because they've just been. I think is it Charles Cooley? There's a quote, great quote, that, you know, the cracks let the light in. You know, and I'm blessed today from my rock bottom, and I'm blessed today that I'm cracked, and I'm blessed today that I'm a bit mad, because that lets the light in. You know what I mean? And I love that. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know, so yeah, if you can, like, look at even the hard, how the hard times is like, it's like anabolic steroids for your spirituality. It's like anabolic steroids for wisdom. You know, wounds to wisdom. You're going through pain or hard times. It just, you know, it empowers you. Like, it empowers you. You know, so anyone going through hard times, they envy it. There's something incredible about to happen. You know, it's going to push you on to do some incredible things. You know, and when we're comfortable, we won't move. But it's when we're uncomfortable, things get done. You know what I mean? Like, great things get done. You know, and yeah, if you, like, yeah, you know what gets the bird out of the nest in the morning? He's hungry. He wants to go and get fed. You know, what gets me out of bed in the morning is that I want to go get stuff done. And, you know, if we're comfortable all the time, we just won't get stuff done. So use that pain as a motivator. Use that pain to help you achieve your goals and what you want to do. Find your purpose. Find what makes you happy. Find what brings you into that flow state we were talking about. You know what I mean? Find what that is, and utilize it, make yourself. And the other thing is, don't take life too serious. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing. We take life way too serious, and we worry too much about what people think of us, so we don't realise no one's thinking about us at all. I remember my dad used to always say, you know, when you're in your 20s, all you do is worry about what people think about it. And then when you get to 40, you don't give a shit what people think about it. But then you get 60 and you realise no one's ever been thinking about it. You know what I mean? So you do you, and do what way makes you happy. And the highest form of freedom is when you no longer give a shit what people think about it. And you just live your life. You know what I mean? If you want to wear your slippers and your pajamas to Tesco at 2 o'clock in the middle of the day because it makes you happy, you go do it. You do you. What PJ? Get your 2 years. Yeah.
I love it. No, it's so true. I think you've touched on so many points there, and then a lot of what you said, you know, even around that rock bottom feeling, just being that ability to even just be the space where you can start to see the light, you know, and also distracting yourself so that you don't have to sit with the discomfort, because I know, like, I have a lifetime of that, so I feel that, you know, and I can really, really resonate with that for sure, because I feel has been what's been my trajectory, and that ability now to relate with other people that are going through stuff, you know, which would never have been otherwise. And I think from that, and the ability as well to have those conversations, you know, to let the walls come down, to say that you're not, you know, bloody superhuman, that you have challenges, that you have troubles that come your way too. And when you get to a point where you're comfortable to be vulnerable in that, I feel that nothing but good comes from that place. You know, the conversations that come back to you, the people that you find around in your circle, as you said, there's kind of that knowing, you know, that you've gone through something, so am I. You kind of have that unsaid or unspoken bond, but it's the only way that really propels you forward, and that, you know, you can use it for good, and that incredible things can come from those moments of pain or, you know, challenge, that nothing in this life is ever wasted, that's for sure.
No, it is. It's so true. And yeah, the pain, like, it can be a terrible slave or a great master, like, you know what I mean? Or a terrible master or a great slave, you know. So you can use it as your activator, use it as your enabler, you know. And Yeah, like I see people. I had a mate there a few years ago, really worried about him. You know, he's going through a really tough breakup, and you know, yeah, he went through a few weeks feeling really low. I decided, right, I'm done. I've gone through the process of like grief. Like, he's got a sense of grief. He said, I want to start getting into shape. And he started doing marathons, and he lost over, you know, he lost like about 5 stone, and done all these marathons, and you know, now he's happily married in a new relationship, and you know, still does all these great things. If it wasn't for that pain of that heartbreak, it wouldn't have transcended him into this new life. It wouldn't have catapulted him into the place he's in now, like, you know. So, you know, but again, it's not nice when you're in the middle of it, and but like it can activate you to do great things, like, you know what I mean. So if anyone is going through like stuff that's they finding difficult, get out pen and paper and write down a few things you'd like to do, you know. And if you're not sure what it is, imagine there was a book, you want to write a book on your life, and you know you're like an autobiography, and you wrote up to day today, wrote up to right where you today, Ashton. You wrote that book, and now just think it today till next year. What would you like to put in that chapter? To this next year, what happened in the next year? Ashton, like, oh, I fucking, you know, I went traveling, I went, you know, surfing, I done an Ironman, I climbed Mount Everest, I went back to college, I got a yoga degree, whatever it is, you know, to add to that chapter and say, right, I'm gonna go do all that stuff, you know. Like if I ran into you in a year's time, what would you like to tell me you've done? I'll call him, he's doing this, he's doing that. You know what I mean? And we realise then that these are my ideas I'd like to do. And realise we can anything is attainable. We're the only ones that saying we can't do it. Again, because we get stuck in the comfort zone, and we get stuck in the thing, what will people think, what will the neighbours think, what will the family think, or, you know, but why not go and do it? Do things you do the dreams that you want to do, the goals you have. You know what I mean? And I remember hearing this guy say, you know, sometimes when he's afraid to take them leaps and them risks, he closes his eyes and he pretends he's 80 years old in his deathbed. And he says to himself, I wish I was that age again. Then I'd go and do that thing I was afraid to do. But then he opens his eyes and he is that age. And that motivates him, go, right, I'm going to go do that thing I want to do. You know what I mean? So do that thing, whatever it is. And if you go, right, I want to do a degree, I want to do psychology inside the world. And after a week, you don't like it, or it wasn't for you. At least you've done it and you tried it. And it wasn't for you. Happy days. So what? You know, what's for you? Like, you've done it, you tried it, and you did great. You know, Teddy Roosevelt has a great poem, you know, the man in the arena. You know, the only person you should take criticism of are other people in that arena, because they know, you know, they know what it's like. And to be honest, I don't think you should ever really take criticism personal, you know, because imagine you're watching a series or a film, and you watch 2 minutes of that film, and I say, oh, Ashton, that film's crap. We watched 2 minutes of it. It wasn't. Yeah, just my opinion of it. So, and you're like, you've only watched 2 minutes of that film. So why would I listen to your opinion or your feedback? But yeah, if I had a look at your life, a quick glance at your life, and I just observed certain parts, I said, oh, do you know what you should do with your life? Or do you know what you should stop doing? I'm giving my opinion on your life, but I've only watched 2 minutes of your film. So I was like, no one truly knows what someone else is going through. You know, we only look and know what we see and say, oh, this is, you know, so like never take it too personal, you know. And the greatest advice I ever got, and it's the secret to living in harmony with other humans, and it's something that I was told in junior infant, something I was told in play school, and still to this day, it's probably the best advice I've ever got when it comes to living with other people. And there was two things, and the first thing was, sticks and stones will break me bones, but names will never hurt me. And learning not to take too personal. Don't take anything to heart. You know, and if someone says something nasty to you, remember that hurt people hurt you. You know what I mean? That what's true strength of character, anyone can react. You know, I used to think the tough guys were the guys that could get into fights outside the chipper at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I realised the tough guys are the people that have that self-restraint. that are allowed to sit with their feelings and their emotions and not just react politically and get aggressive. The people that have really good characters are the people that know this guy's suffering. The only way you pass on suffering is if you're suffering yourself. If someone hurts me, it's usually because they're hurt. Or someone insults me or puts me down, it's usually just they're going through their stuff. You know, kill them with kindness. You know, I heard a guy say, "Oh, hit them with the chair, hit them with a prayer." You know what I mean? Like, and then the other thing I learned when I was in that in play school was if you've nothing nice to say it at all. You know, so much wisdom in that. So much wisdom in that. You know, count to 10, go for a walk. Don't get your word in. You know, and I tell you that wisdom saves many relationships. You know what I mean? Just keep your mouth shut. Don't you know what I say? Just walk away. You know, just go for a walk. Because again, people hurt people, but heal people. You know what I mean? When you have the wisdom and the you know the compassion, just not to react. And say, okay, look, you meet someone in Tesco and they might, you know, be quite rude to you, or you meet someone in traffic and that's, you know, being really aggressive, or you know, you don't know what they're going through. You know, your man that's aggressive in Tesco is probably just after going through a breakup, or you know, the guy that's aggressive in traffic jam is probably after getting some really bad news that day. You know, and it's manifesting into anger. You know, so you know, it's that thing. Walk slow, talk loud. You know, being, I don't know if you ever heard the poem. You know, being instrument of peace. You know, like just, and you feel better for it. Because I know if I go from A to B and not get aggressive or into all these, you know, confrontations, I'll sleep sound. But if I go from A to B and I'm getting aggressive and my ego and my chest is out, do you not know? You know, and that night I'm not going to sleep because I just can't do anger. I'm allergic to it. Allergic to alcohol and drugs. That just doesn't suit me. It doesn't suit me. You know, and I just don't engage in it. Like, you know what I mean? And I live like that. You know, walk, slow, talk, you know, go from A to B, like the fly in the wall. You know, goes down. You know, sometimes the best thing to add is like certainly the most peaceful thing as well. It's just not to add any sticks to it, you know, and yeah, you know, just live at ease, live at peace. And love is God to me. Like love is our power, fear is the lower power. And if I was to ask you to draw a picture of love, what is love? Like a gesture of love. Like it's a universal language. Like if I was to go down to Mexico now, or Brazil, or the Philippines, or Singapore, and go out and give someone a hug, or buy someone a cup of tea, that's the language of love. Like, you know what I mean? That's a universal gesture. People understand love no matter where you are, but also they understand fear and they understand anger. You know, and destruction. And if I was to go and get into a fight with someone in Mexico, or you know, be aggressive with someone in the Philippines, they'd see that as well as fear and anger. So there's love. So the both universal languages, like, you know what I mean. So for me is just to try and go from A to B and try to be as kind as possible, and but as well is not to not be too hard on yourself either. Like, you know what I mean. And I think I think it's the inner love that's the important one. Like, you know what I mean. To let ourselves off that, and I can go back to people pleasing that we're trying to save the world. But what about this guy first? Like, you know what I mean. What about, you know, you can't pour from an empty glass. You know, we're trying to fix Mary and heal John and sit up all night listening to fucking Betty talking about our problems. What about this fella here? What about self-care? And we tend to put ourselves last. Like, you know what I mean. We tend to cater for everyone else and burn ourselves out. You know what I mean? So I've learned that the hard way. I was born through trying to save the world, like putting on the Superman cape. I'm trying to help people, and all the time, and it's burnt out all the time because your sense of energy and your empath and you're around all. You know, one is relief. It's my now I gravitate towards wanting to help people, but as well I have to learn to help me first, you know what I mean, and listen to my body and listen to my needs, and then know that you not to spread yourself too thinly, because if you're burning out, you're not, how you gonna pass it on to people? You can't pass on what you haven't got. You know what I mean? So again, it's self care, and just learning what works for you. Like.
Love it. Well, I feel like I could sit here chatting to you all day. Well, I'm at, what was it, 11:15 at home
Yeah.
now? Jeez. Sorry. Well, Friday looks good from over here, so you're in for a treat.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I love just to, before we finish up, I just firstly wanted to say a massive thank you. I think I speak on behalf of myself and anyone who either has watched this live or will watch it in the catch up, that there's just been so many nuggets of gold and words of wisdom. You're a very wise man for your years, that's for sure. And
I'm really 8 years old. It's just all the sea dips keep me young. You want to look under the bonnet.
They do great for the skin, don't they? But I guess for anyone who is watching this either live or on the catch up, how do people find out more about you and the work that you do and what you put out there?
Like I'm on Instagram, Colm Doolan. But what I'd say to suggest anyone is never be afraid to ask for help. You know, we live in a world now where resources are so accessible, you know, and attainable. Like, if you need help, never be like, that was me. I used to be like the bloke that never needed help. You know what I mean? I could do it on myself. And, you know, sitting in the pub, riddled with depression, anxiety, addiction, and not being able to tell anyone on the outside, wearing the mask, smiling, everything's great, everything's happy that you watch the match. But on the inside, I was crumbling. You know, on the inside, you know, I was just broken, I was miserable, and I suffered for years, you know, because I just didn't want to ask for help, you know. So if there is anyone going through hard times, I'd reach out. Just like you want to Google now, and Google like mental health. There's confidential phone lines out there. There's confidential therapists out there. You know, there's so much support out there if you're just willing to ask for help. You know, throw in the towel. You know, if you need the help, you know, it's there. You know. Yeah,
So true. Thank you. And the final thing that I just wanted to say before we leave, and I do this with everyone that I like to have a chat to, is how can we be of service or to you? You know, do you have an ask that we can help you with?
Do a good deed and not get found out.
I love that.
And be present. That's
beautiful. Well, thank you, Colm. It's been such a pleasure to have a chat with you. I've loved having the ability to finally talk. We got there in the end, and I was thinking about when you said about writing that, you know, next chapter. I was thinking hopefully mine will include a trip back to Ireland and to Dublin, and maybe I'll see you around for a dip.
Bring a bit of fun. That's what I was only thinking. Like I was talking to my mate there. He's like, "Yo, you know, he's in Australia," and he was saying, "What's the crack with everyone moaning about the jellyfish up there in Ireland? Like, you know, down here you have fucking sharks and you know, and fucking you know Loch Ness monsters and all jumping out at you, like you know, and up here we're like worried about seals and little jellyfish. Like it's gas. But yeah, leave the sharks and bring the sun. Yeah."
Yeah, remember that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Emil.
Okay.
Have a good.
You too. Have a great day. Okay. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye.